Welcome to the Better Together podcast. I'm your host, Kyla, and today I wanted to start off by talking about where I've been the last few weeks. I'm usually pretty consistent with posting my podcast weekly, but to be honest, I've just been feeling very burnt out. And when I feel burnt out, I get unmotivated. So today I wanted to talk about that burnout feeling, as well as anxiety and the pressure to continue to push yourself even when you're burning both ends of the candle. In this last couple of weeks that I haven't posted, I've been stressing a lot about posting. I even recorded a 9-minute episode that I thought maybe I would post because it was something to share, but it wasn't really up to my standards and I just didn't feel like it was finished, so I decided not to share it. This led me to think about that burnout feeling and how it's not that uncommon. Most people feel burnt out at some point in their lives or at many different points in their lives. Some background on me that maybe some of my listeners don't know is that I have a full-time day job. And the last couple of months have been very hectic at work. And I've been pretty much working around the clock. So it's been hard for me to find the time to really sit down and record candid episodes. And I really want all my episodes to feel candid, honest, raw. And every time I was sitting down to record during the last month, it wasn't necessarily feeling candid or raw or honest, which is why I decided to take a step back for a few weeks. But I'm back now and I'm very ready to get into the swing of things. So this episode is mostly just going to be a catch-up episode. I want to discuss that burnout feeling, but I also want to talk a little bit about that anxiety feeling and the pressure to do the thing you set out to do, but really don't have the energy or headspace to do it well. I hope that makes sense. I also still wanted to share my letter to my future self. In the last episode, I did the letter to my past self and had EPAC on as my guest, where we sort of just answered questions that we would tell our future self. It was a fun episode to record, but I wanted to change the format a little bit this time and do a solo episode where I actually write out a letter and read it to all of you guys. I think this can be a fun exercise, especially when taking some time away from the letter you write and then reading it again sometime in the future when maybe you're in a completely new headspace or new part of your life. But before I get into all of that, I wanted to first share some anxiety I have been feeling, as well as things that help with that anxiety. As you may be able to tell, I wrote out everything I'm reading right now as a way to organize my thoughts. I do usually try not to read my outlines, but today just felt necessary in order to get out everything I wanted in an organized way. Sometimes I find that when I'm anxious or just generally overwhelmed by life, I like to list out the things that are running through my mind. So here are my lists at this moment in my life. Things that have been making me feel anxious lately. Spending too much time alone or isolating and isolating. Not having a clean or organized space, working too much, but also not working enough, not spending enough time with my friends, partying too hard, comparing myself to where someone else is at in life and where I want to be in life. What will come of this podcast, if anything, disappointing people, someone close to me dying, not keeping in touch with my family enough, not balancing not balancing my time enough between friends and my intimate relationships, overthinking about what people think of me, money and success. things that make me less anxious: sunny, warm weather, taking long walks, spending time with friends and people I love, FaceTiming with my mom and brothers, listening to nostalgic music, arts and crafts like drawing, painting, and taking pictures, uh, dancing, yoga, and working out, cleaning and organizing, working on my podcast, brainstorming ideas, waking up early and going to bed early, but also sometimes going to bed late because those can be the moments where I feel most creatively motivated. This is a good example. I'm pretty sure it's almost 1 in the morning when I'm recording this. But it was when I was feeling the most motivated. So you got to do it when you're feeling it. Um, Writing and reflecting, but not within a consistent schedule. Slow mornings, also moments where I feel that creative energy and motivation. Mornings, a lot of times, are when I write out my outlines for my podcasts, actually, or read. Um, and speaking of that, getting lost in a good book, therapy, taking care of my plants and the want for more plants. My cat child, Ozzy, I just decided that his middle name is going to be Moo. I'm trying to think back to when I first started referring to him as Ozzy Moo or Mr. Moo Man, but I think it was after my ex-partner and I got our dog, Kuma. He was, or I shouldn't say was, he is such a unique looking guy in the best way possible. So cute. Such a little cute Moo Moo Man. And I used to call him Moo Man, and it kind of stuck, and then it became Ozzy's nickname. I have this tendency to have so many ideas and thoughts about things I want to do, whether it's with my podcast or going out and about in the world, doing things with friends, being creative, speaking my voice. And sometimes I get overwhelmed with all these thoughts swirling around in my brain that I can't get any one thing done. And I imagine this is a pretty common feeling for most people, but this hits me especially when I have a lot going on at my day job, where I'm so focused on doing well at work that it becomes hard for me to balance out my personal life and get the thing done or things done I want in my own life outside of work and my day job. I also feel like from an outside perspective, people may not see this part of me, but this is something I often feel internally. It's a constant internal battle with myself. But I also think this can be but I also think this can be a really good thing as well, because it's what pushes me to think outside the box and be more creative. I feel like I kind of feel like I'm writing a stream of consciousness right now, which I sort of it did with this. So I hope this isn't boring for anybody listening, and maybe at least a little relatable. And there I go, overthinking what everybody is going to think of me. Um, but anyways, just the other day, I was feeling very anxious and generally stuck in my head. I was thinking about how I wasn't being productive enough and how I went out too much the weekend prior. I needed to clean my room, my apartment, and just get my life organized. I had a huge pile of laundry on my bed and sheets that I had to put on my bed, but I couldn't focus on a single thing. So instead, I decided to take a shower, do my makeup, and yes, while I was doing my makeup, I was sitting on that large pile of laundry. But my thought was, it's a Sunday. I don't have to work. The first weekend in 2 weeks that I didn't have to work. And I thought, it's a beautiful day out. Why not go and make myself feel cute and go out and about? And I think the lesson I learned in that moment is that not everything needs to get done right away. Sometimes you just need that moment to have fun, to not worry, to let out your inner child and be playful. Um, that to me is true freedom. As I'm writing this out, I still feel anxious. It's weird because the work I've needed to get done for so long is finally done. Yet, with so much extra time on my hands, I still feel anxious. I guess this is just the way society and culture has taught us to constantly be working towards something bigger, something better. We are taught to always be working towards a goal in order to be successful. I've said this many times on previous episodes, but what does success really mean? So my question is how do we unlearn that? And that's exactly what I want to focus on in my letter to my 30-year-old self. I decided to write this letter to my 30-year-old self specifically because one, turning a whole decade older is a big deal. Which I keep telling my mom, who turns 60 this year, although she doesn't love the fact that I keep bringing that up. So sorry, Mom, I love you. But also, it is a big deal. Number two, I especially think that entering your 30s is a pivotal moment because it's the end of an era of sort of being looked at as a kid in a way. There's this idea that by the time you hit 30, you have it all figured out. But that's a societal thing because, like I said earlier, nobody, no matter what age, has it figured out. We are all living this life for the first time and learning as we go, no matter what your age is. That saying, age is just a number, speaks volumes in this context. And lastly, number three, I want this letter to be something I can look back at in a year and a half from now and know where my head was at and compare it to where my head will or is at 30 years old. Maybe this will be a good reminder to myself when I'm feeling burnt out, stressed, or anxious, or maybe this will be a reminder of the lessons I've learned and how I've grown within this time. Or maybe it will just be something I look back at, sort of like a time capsule of where I was in the past and where I am in the future. This exercise is about awareness and introspection of the self. This is a cathartic exercise, especially to be able to read it back maybe a week, a month, a year, or even years later to understand your headspace and your growth over time. So, with that, let's get into my letter to my future 30-year-old self. Dear Kyla, happy 30th birthday. This is 28-year-old Kyla speaking. I wanted to write you this letter to tell you how life is now and how I hope life will be for you in your present time at the beautiful age of 30. The year 28 has been such a transformative year for us, as we both know. We went through a breakup that tore us apart, but also put us back together again, something we needed more than we realized. I feel like right now, at this moment, I know myself better than ever before. Do you still feel that way? Do you still feel whole in yourself? It's weird because I realize as we get older, nothing really makes sense. We make it up as we go. But when you're a kid, you look at everything and think that all the people older than you know what's going on. Something I've learned over the years is that nothing is permanent. And this can sound kind of depressing, but it makes me think more positively because it gives me hope. Hope that I have the power to change what I don't like in my life. Hope that through the most difficult times, a flower will still bloom. That no matter what, life will feel happy again, even if that happy feeling doesn't last forever because it's not supposed to. Because it's not supposed to last forever. I know what I want for my future, but realistically, you never know what's going to come next. So instead of writing about the things I wish so badly for us at 30 years old, I want to write about letting go. Kyla, I want you to let go of the control. I want you to let go of everything needing to be perfect. I want you to start to accept the mistakes and be okay with how things turn out, even if it's not exactly what you saw coming. I want you to be able to flow through life. And that doesn't mean giving up your goals or not working towards them. It just means being okay with the outcomes, even if it's not what you envisioned. Oftentimes, we imagine this grand thing happening, but also oftentimes that grand thing doesn't look exactly as we hoped. But that doesn't mean the thing isn't still grand. I want you to say yes to more opportunities, even if they scare you. I want you to push through your anxiety in order to feel more confident and free within yourself. To try to think about all the people you surround yourself with and the reasons they chose to be around you, or rather, they choose to be around you. You are someone people want to spend time with, and that is something to feel thankful and grateful for. We have community, and isn't the most important thing in the world having community, having people to love, having people who love you back, and finding meaning in your life, no matter what that meaning is, to have a purpose within a universe where purpose doesn't really exist. I want you to continue to look at life with your cup half full and to dream big even if those dreams feel impossible to achieve. Because guess what? They aren't impossible to achieve. When you set your mind to something, you make it happen. Again, even if it's not exactly how you saw it playing out. This year, we learned to look at ourselves as the younger version of Kyla, that little girl who sought to feel accepted and loved, who was so afraid to speak her own voice that she held everything inside. We told her that everything was going to be okay through the hardest of times, like losing Dad and Alex. We told her she is strong and has the power to speak her truth and change what she believed her reality was. We told her she was allowed to be happy, but reminded her that feelings come in waves, and sometimes you will feel sad, anxious, afraid, angry, but with that, you will also feel hope, excitement, and happiness. That's the thing about life. It always keeps moving forward, even when you don't want it to. So, Kyla, stay present. Enjoy the small moments that make you happy. Don't worry too much about things not working out because you are not someone who would allow yourself to give up. I want to wrap this letter up by telling you, Kyla, that burnout is normal. When you feel burnt out, don't try to force yourself to do something you know isn't going to come out great. And that's not to say to not try. It just means that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to have days where you lay in bed on the couch all day and binge a TV show. It's okay to hang with friends instead of doing the thing you believe is more productive. Give yourself grace. Treat yourself how you would treat your best friend. Be honest with yourself and tough when it's truly needed, but also do the reverse and be gentle with yourself too. I love you, Kyla, and I hope you love yourself too. Cheers to 30, my dear. With love, Kyla, your 28-year-old self. Now, I want to say I felt writing that letter was very powerful. I felt like writing this whole podcast episode was really powerful and cathartic for me. I highly encourage anybody listening to this to write a letter to your past and or future self. I think this can be a very freeing experience. It felt very freeing for me. It was therapeutic. And if you do decide to write a letter to your future and or past self, feel free to share it with me. Write into thebettertogetherpod at gmail.com. I'd love to read these on the podcast. You're welcome to be totally anonymous, and you're also welcome to write that you don't want it read on the podcast, but you want a place to share it. I'd also love to be that person who you share that letter with, and then I can keep it as, keep it safe and give it to you when you're ready to read it when you're in your future self, whatever. I'd love to know what you guys thought of this episode and format. I know it's a little bit different. I enjoy writing a lot, and I don't always do it in this way. I'll write my outlines, and it's usually just like a list of bullet points that I want to hit in an episode. But I'm wondering if this is something I should do more of. Do you like listening to me read what I write? Please let me know in the comments. We also have some exciting announcements coming up with the podcast. I'm doing a rebrand, so things may look a little different in the near future. But I'll still be discussing, similar topics about things that I'm going through in my life. I want to get even more personal and vulnerable. And yeah, I just all around want to get deeper. So the biggest difference will be probably like the look of the podcast and the graphic that I have for my podcast at the moment. I've also added a new member to my podcast team who's helping me produce and edit my episodes, which is really exciting. His name is Cole Hamilton, and I think and I'll post all of his socials below, but he writes his own music, he produces music, he obviously produces and edits podcasts, and he is a great resource for anybody looking to add someone on to their own team in their creative endeavors, whether it's in music or podcasting or audio work, whatever. And thank you once again for tuning in. Please remember to rate, like, comment, subscribe. It helps tremendously. Follow me on my personal Instagram, which is Kyla_Millberger. Follow me on my podcast Instagram, which is the_bettertogether_podcast. And I will see you next Sunday. Bye.